Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Christine's Stampin' Spot, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I thought we would create a very simple card using the Waterfront stamp set from Stampin' Up! Last week I posted a video tutorial on how to create this card using this stamp set. And I wanted to come on today and show you how, while it's easy to do a great, beautiful landscape like this, you can also keep it simple and do something like this, and it still is a lovely card. So I kind of wanted to show you the different options that you have with this particular stamp set. So today we're going to create this fun little beach scene. And we're going to use a lot of ink pad colors. You wouldn't have to use as many if you didn't want to. I just like a little bit of different colors in my little scenes here. But it's very easy to do. So let's go ahead and get started. As I said, we're using the Waterfront stamp set, one of my absolute favorites. So what I did first is I did all of my stamping on a circle that I cut out of Whisper White cardstock using the Stitched Shapes Framelit dies. This is the largest circle that's in that die set. So let me go ahead and bring that over. I've already gone ahead and cut it out for us prior to coming on camera. I'm also going to grab my Stampin' Pierce mat. These are photopolymer stamp sets, so I like to have cushioning under my stamping area. And I'm going to grab some scratch paper as well. Okay, so we should be all set. Let's go ahead and get started with our stamping. The first thing that I'm going to do is create my little sand line, and I'm going to use this single line stamp set for that. I've already got that on my acrylic block, and I'm going to ink that up in crumb cake. So let me bring my crumb cake over here, and I'm just gonna go about, maybe a little tiny bit up from halfway. Little bit, so not exactly halfway, it's a smidge up from halfway, and I'm just gonna ink that full strength onto my circle. And there we go. I have my Stampin' Scrub off camera here, so I'm just gonna be using that periodically to clean off these stamps because I'm going to be reusing them in different colors. All right, so we have our sand. The next thing we're going to do is our beach, or our ocean. So let's go ahead and grab this stamp, which can also be used as a waterfall. I'm just going to use it for some ocean today. I'm going to grab my Cabana ink pad. This is a color, it's a returning color actually. It used to be an in color, and it's now a permanent color in our collection. It's beautiful. I love this color. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that stamp over and get it nice and inked up in my Cabana. And now I'm going to stamp off once, and then use the second generation stamping on my white panel here. So I'm just going to butt it right up slightly over top of my sand, so we have a nice transition from the sand to the ocean. Sorry if my head gets in, I just want to see that I've placed it right where I want it there. Okay, remember we stamped off for this one first. Okay, so we're done with that. Now I'm going to take the little two-lined image, which is this one right here, and I'm just going to add a little streak of color in our ocean. And with that, I'm going to use specific point ink. This isn't really meant to be super realistic. It's more just supposed to sort of be almost impressionistic, a little bit of, this is the idea of an ocean, and it has different colors of blue and greens in the ocean, that kind of idea. So it's not supposed to be a realistic sort of rendering of an ocean scene. It's supposed to be more of an artistic look. So I stamped the specific point off once, and now I'm just going to stamp it down, and there we go. Just gives it a little bit of color, extra color to our ocean. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to stamp our little beach house, which is this little cabin image right here. This could be, a cabin in a mountain scene, or it can be a little hut on the beach, whatever you want. I'm going to bring back over my Cabana for that, and I'm just going to ink this up here, and we're just going to stamp this down full strength onto our Whisper White circle. Again, go just slightly below where that sand stops, so you have a smooth transition from the sand to your little beach hut, if that makes sense. Okay, we can close up our Cabana for now, and now we're going to add our palm trees. So we're gonna grab soft suede. The trees, and I'll show you on the cover in a moment, the trees are 2 steps. So you have your stalks of the trees, is that the right word? The stem, not the stems, the trunks, there we go. The trunks of the palm trees, and then you have the tops here. So we're gonna do the trunks in soft suede. So I'm going to take my image here and stamp it down. And then I'm just gonna stamp it down again. So we have a couple that are further away. And we're gonna do the same thing on this other side here of our beach house. Whoops, I put it back in the ink. So I'm gonna stamp off and then do it that way, like so. Okay, clean that off. Now I'm going to grab the tops of the palm trees here. And we can close up our soft suede. We're all done with that color. I'm going to grab Granny Apple Green, which is another brand new color in our color revamp, and I love this green color. And I'm just going to ink the tops of the trees with this, and we'll just stamp this down like so. Now some of this is going to be off, you know, the paper just slightly hanging on, as you can see. And then I'm going to second generation it on the lighter tree trunks, if that makes sense. I'll bring this up to the camera so you can see a little better in just a moment. So I have those there, and then second generation there. And let me bring this up so you can see. It's very subtle. It might not even show up on camera very well, but it's there, and I kind of like it. It just gives it a little bit of depth. Now I want to add a little bit more depth to the tree. So I'm going to grab Garden Green. I'm going to clean off my stamp super quick. I'm going to ink the tops again in Garden Green, and I'm going to stamp off and then stamp right, kind of skew it just a little bit, and this is just going to give our trees a little bit of extra color. And now this will be the third generation on our lightest ones, if that makes sense. So stamp off, skewer it a little bit so it's not directly on top, and then third generation on the lightest colors. So there you go. Hopefully that makes sense. It's just a very subtle look to our palm trees there. And it just gives a little bit of gradation of color, which if you watched my other video, you know I kind of get like that look, and I paint in my spare time. So, you know, I just sort of find that it's fun for me to kind of give it that look. All right, now we're going to stamp our sun, which is right here. It's just the, I'll show you on the cover here. It's just this circle image right here, okay? And I'm going to use another new color, which is Mango Medley. And we're just gonna put this, whoops, I left the stamp behind. I've been stamping with this set all day, and sometimes the backs get a little less sticky until you clean them really good, so that's all that happened there. Okay, let's try this again. I'm gonna ink this up in the Mango Medley, and we're gonna put the sun about right there. Okay, beautiful. All right. Now, the second to last step is to create our colorful sky. Let me bring the original card back over for a moment. And as you can see, I sort of have a beachy sunset look in this card. So I've got some light blues and pinks and yellows in the sky. But I don't want the lines from the image that I'm going to use to go right across my little beach house and my sun. So to fix that, I've gone ahead and I store these in my stamp case, and I stamped my sun on a Post-it note and cut it out, fussy cut it out with scissors, and I'm going to cover that up. This is called masking. I did the same thing with my little beach house, so we're going to cover that up as well with our Post-it note, mask that off. And now I'm going to take the one-liner again here, this one-line image right here, and I'm going to create my little sky. So to do that, I'm first going to grab my Coastal Cabana again, and this time I'm going to stamp off twice. This was the same color as the first layer of our ocean, but this time I'm going to stamp off twice so it's really, really light, and then we're just going to kind of put some little streaks of this in our sky, sort of towards the bottom. Okay, now above that we're going to put some pink, and for that I'm going to be using Melon Mambo, and I'm going to again stamp off 3 times. Let me clean my stamp off super quick. Okay, so I'm going to get this inked up in the Melon Mambo, stamp off once, stamp off twice, and then we're just going to add a little bit of pink to our pretty sky here. And if we hadn't masked off our sun and our little beach house here, these lines would go right through those images and it would look kind of silly. So that's why I took that extra time to go ahead and do that. And then we're finally going to put some yellow in our sky. And for that, I'm going to use Daffodil Delight. Did I clean off that stamp? Yeah, okay. And I'm going to stamp off once and twice, and then just lay some color down. I wanted the sky to be very subtle, and so that's why I'm doing all of this stamping off. And there we go. Okay, final step, guys, and then we are done with the stamping for this panel. We're going to take our Pacific Point again, and the stamp set comes with this fun little splatter image right here. And I thought it would be fun to add some texture to the ocean by putting some of this splatter into our ocean in our darkest blue. Remember, we stamped off the Pacific Point for the streak of color, and I thought it would be fun to go full strength Pacific Point for the little dots, or the splatter. And there we go. Nothing too crazy, just a little bit of splatter there in our ocean. Okay, so we are done with this panel. The next step is to remove our little masks. As you can see there, we've that saved our little sun and our little beach cottage from having weird lines going through it. So that looks really good. And we're going to set this aside for a moment. The next step is I'm going to bring this piece of crumb cake over, and this measures just slightly smaller than an A2 size card base. So this is going to measure 5 1/4 by 4. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment while I still have the ink out here in the bottom right corner. The sentiment that I chose says, it says, every little kindness makes the world brighter, and I'm just sticking that sentiment to the block here. I'm going to ink it up. Actually, I didn't do Pacific Point. I'm so sorry. I did Coastal Cabana. Sorry about that. Scratch that. Don't use the Pacific Point. Use the Coastal Cabana for your sentiment. So I'm going to ink the sentiment up in the Coastal Cabana, and then just stamp it down right here in this bottom right corner. All right, and lift up. Very pretty sentiment. I love the fonts of this stamp set too. The typing, the font is very beautiful. Okay, so now we are completely done with our stamping, and we are ready to put this card together. So the first thing that we want to do is bring over this scalloped circle here. I'm going to remove my Stampin' Pierce mat because we're done with our stamping. We don't need that anymore. I used my Layering Circles framelit dies to cut this out. This is the largest one in the set. And this little panel that we stamped on is going to go right on top of this. So there's just going to be a little tiny bit of that Coastal Cabana scallop peeking out right behind our white panel here. Let's go ahead and stick this down. You just center it right on top and stick it down. There we go. We can set this aside. And now I have a Coastal Cabana card base. It's an A2 size. It's 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. So it measures when folded 5.5 by 4 1/4. We're going to set that aside actually for just a second. And I have a little piece here of Coastal Cabana cardstock that's 1 3/4 by 4. And I ran it through my Big Shot with my Seaside Textures embossing folder. And it gives it this really pretty, almost like ocean-like texture. I thought it was perfect for this card. So we're going to put some adhesive on the back of this and stick that down to our crumb cake. Just a little bit over from the left-hand side. So not flush up, but flush up to the left-hand side, just a little bit over to the right. And we'll just stick that down. And now, before we stick this to the front of our card base, I'm going to take some Whisper White Baker's Twine. And I'm just going to flip this over quickly and add some adhesive to the back, to both sides of the back of the crumb cake. And now I'm going to stick this down to that adhesive. And then I'm just going to wind it across the front, stick it down on the back again, wind it across again, and stick it down, and then finally one more time. Just adding a little extra to the front of our card base. I thought that was a fun little touch. And the Whisper White Baker's Twine also comes in basic black, I think a couple other colors. It's very inexpensive, and as you can see, this is a brand new roll. You get so much on a roll, and so I don't really mind, you know, using it. I don't feel like I have to save it or hoard it because I get so much in a packet. Okay, so now we'll grab that Coastal Cabana card base here, and we'll center our crumb cake to the top, and just center this right in the middle of our card front here. Beautiful. Close that up. And now our little circle panel is going to go right there. And to do that, we're just going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals. About 4 should do the trick. Peel off the backings here. And then we're just going to stick this down. And we have a very simple but fun use of this Waterfront card set. We have gone and created such a sweet little beachy scene here. I think anyone would love to receive this. So here is the final card. The last thing that I did is I added some fun glitter enamel dots to the card in the Coastal Cabana color. So let's do that quickly here. I like to add odd numbers. I just think it, for design wise, it looks really good to do things in odd numbers. So I have 3 over here and then 2 down here for 5 total, if that makes sense. But you can do whatever you want. It's your, you know, your idea, your aesthetic, whatever you prefer. But these glitter dots, let me just pull those up. Aren't those beautiful? Come in several different colors, as you can see there. So this is it, guys. This is our cute little scene that we have created using the Waterfront stamp set, rather. And I just think this is so cute. It's a little abstract way to use the stamp set. Let me bring over again the card I did last week, and how different are these? I think this really just goes to show how unique and must-have, in my opinion, this stamp set is. So check it out. I will have a link in the description box of this video below to my blog, which will have a link to all of the products that were used to create today's card. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and stamping with me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you in the next video soon. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.